Frequently, endgames been treated as the quiet part of the game. And even people, even very strong tactically players, they treat endgame like a quiet stage of the game, but not knowing and not realizing that even in the end game, one side or the other is maybe in a great danger from some tactical reasons. Okay, there's a position we have right now in front of us where it's with the total material equality. White has bishop and 2 pawns for the rook. There's a game between two grandmasters, two very well-known grandmasters. We don't need to mention their names. And there is some significant thing here. Something is very significant that black in this position, white in this position, has very dangerous king position. So black played rook c6, which is very good move. And white pressed to win too hard. They think they have a pawn that should give them a chance to win. And white made a move, bishop f8. Not realizing that this is the move that loses immediately. Now, well, actually, we should say that even if white did something else, they are in trouble already, because rook can never move. If rook moves anywhere, then white gets checkmated. So rook has to stay here, and king cannot go too far. So the bishop f8 move was kind of waiting move. And now black has very interesting tactical shot that it may be typical for the middle game position. But that's why you have to be very careful. Even in the end game position, it can be very crucial. So rook b5 check, forcing white to play king a4, and after rook b8, white should resign. You see black is attacking white's rook, white's bishop, and white's rook cannot take the rook because of the checkmate. So white loses a bishop, and then it's of course all over. This is an interesting tactical shot. Now, here is the position. How can you win this position? Let me give you the end game. It's interestingly also based on tactics. Here is the position. How can we win this end game for white? Well, all we have to do, we have to try to make a queen. But we don't want him to take with a bishop. So we have to make a queen without giving black a chance to sacrifice their bishop. The way you win it is you go bishop to h4, attacking black's bishop, which cannot take our bishop there because then we're going to queen. So black has to move bishop, and at this point, it doesn't really matter where they move it. Bishop a7. Now we go bishop to c7. All black makes waiting move, and it's interesting maneuver white does. Now black is controlling this diagonal. First thing white has to do to gain the control of that diagonal. They're going bishop a7, and after bishop g3, bishop to b8, bishop f2, and now they go bishop f4. White got control of this diagonal, they're threatening to queen. Now black goes bishop a7, but now you see black is controlling the b8 square from very short diagonal, which is not even diagonal, it's only one square. And now after bishop e3, white wins. So if you, because they're going to make a queen, so if you notice, what did white do here? White went bishop here, 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 and here. And they won. Because black at all points has to control the queening square for white. And that's how they win. Now, let me give you another interesting example of the end game. Well, it's a tactical, and you have to see that white has big advantage in this position. White is going that way. And what should white do? How should white play? In the game ended in a draw because white didn't play well. What white did is played rook d2, and after exchange of the rooks, black was able to hold the draw. They ran with the king, and they were able to hold the draw. How do we win this position? It's like, just like in the previous example, you cannot give black an opportunity to sacrifice knight for a pawn. You have to dislodge the knight. So the winning move is rook a2. It's very simple and primitive plan. King g7, rook a8, and followed by rook to d8. Well, of course, you have to do it carefully, because if now black plays king f6, you don't want to go rook d8, because you may lose after knight e5 check. So first thing you have to do is to get out of the check by playing king b4, and whatever move black makes, then rook to d8, and now you see you're winning easily, either by queening and winning black's rook, or by taking black's knight and making a queen. So this is, it's tactical, but it's not like a basic endgame principle. It's how to use pass pawn. If you have a pass pawn that is on 7th horizontal, you should be able to win in most of the cases some piece for this pass pawn, but it's not always enough. Sometimes you can win a bishop or knight or even a rook, and that's not going to be enough. You have to promote it to the queen without your opponent being able to capture it and sacrifice some piece for it. Those are the two interesting examples on the theme of a pass pawn. We use tactics to stop your opponent from capturing your pass pawn. Now let's look at this position. White is queening that way, and it's black's move. What can black do here? If black captures the pawn, and after exchange of bishops, white wins, because they stop black's king on getting to the corner just on time, and now h pawn simply moves and queens. So that's not good for black. Is there any way black can save this game? If black plays bishop f1, white plays king takes h4, and white wins easily, because white's just going to move the king and go with the pawn all the way. However, this position is a draw. This is a very interesting position. In order to draw this position, you have to use some tactics for black, and you have to know that bishop and the rook pawn, you have to know, for example, that this position is a draw. Because when one side has a rook pawn and bishop, the opposite of the color of queening square of the rook pawn, it's always a draw. So here is how black manages to draw this position. Black plays bishop takes b7. That's correct move. And after bishop takes b7, black does not capture back. They have to immediately run to the corner. And there is no way white can stop them. Well, they have to take the pawn if they want to achieve anything. Now king e7. And after king g5, king f8. You see, white needs two moves here to win. They cannot make two moves in a row. Those are the two moves they need. King g6 and bishop d5. Then they win. So white has no way to stop black's king from getting to h8, which leads to a draw. Again, in this position, black plays bishop takes b7, because that's the only way, by eliminating this pawn, black's king can run to the h8 square. Bishop takes b7, bishop takes b7, and king to d7. And no matter what white does, white can stop black king from getting to h8. King e7, king g7. They can do that, but they cannot win. Actually, same position, same type of position occurred in a game between Korchnoi and Karpov, where Korchnoi had an extra bishop and couldn't win. In a world championship match where I was Korchnoi second, we had the same type of position. It's a draw. Now, because white can, and they will be able to chase black's king away, but then they will not be able to get the pawn on h6. Now, king d7, or even king d6, even if white plays here, black goes king c7. Now, as soon as white goes towards the pawn, black goes towards the h8 square. And the position is a draw. Or king d6, same. So this is a drawn position. Now, let's get some position where tactics is the main source of winning, only source of winning. Here is the position. We're going to set up position. Okay. This is the position where white is on the move. White has rook, knight, and two pawns for the queen. And white's king is not in check. So here, can white win? White can draw easily, even if they didn't have knight and the pawn, by putting rook on f3 and rook h3. That will be a draw. But if they have a knight also, can they win? Normally not. But it's hard to imagine that we have here totally winning position for white, because we have some deadly combination. And you don't see deadly combination that frequently in the end game. And here we have white wins by playing rook to d5 check. You see, black must capture, obviously. Now we play pawn to c4 check. And all of a sudden, we see that no matter which way black recaptures, they lose their queen. So best way to recapture is king takes c4. Now we go knight e3 check. And on queen takes c4, obviously, we would have had knight a3 check. So after knight to e3 check, king to d4, knight takes d5, king takes d5. White wins because of the well-known opposition rule. King f2, king e5. And now it's enough for white to make one mistake, and game is going to be drawn. After king f3, king f5, opposition, White is on the move, game is drawn. The winning move is king to g3, not to allow the opposition. In order for black to draw here, they should be able to play king g5, which is a legal move. And after king f5, king h4, king g6, king g4, you see black loses the opposition and black loses the game. And so on. So we have here tactics, powerful tactics, sacrifice of a rook and a pawn, and then using the opposition in the same endgame. Some endgames they may be very instructive, very tactical, and very interesting as well. So let's show. I'm going to show you an example that was played between two top grandmasters also, between Judith Polgar and Vladimir Kramnik. Here is the position. White has king on h1, rook on f3, knight on d5, two pawns on c4 and b3, and black's king on h8, and rook on e8, bishop on c6, pawn on a5, two pawns on g5, f4, and pawn on h2. Well, here is the position. And in this position, it's white's move. White played h4. And this turned out to be not so good move. White, understandably, black has an advantage here. They have a bishop that potentially the pin may be very dangerous. This diagonal, tactically very dangerous. It may be crucial in the middle game, but Polgar thought that in the end game it may not be that difficult. So black's strength is connected pawns on g5 and f4, and she understandably wants to eliminate these pawns, to break them up. So the move for black was a4. And now you see that black wants to go a3. So white played b takes a, and that's when this pin becomes deadly. Black goes rook e4. Now we see that pawn on c4 cannot be protected. For instance, if rook c1, there is rook takes c4, and black wins easily. Rook takes, bishop takes d5, check. So what happened here after rook to e4, black played rook c3. White went g4, and having two connected pass pawns that far, black won the game. So this is very interesting position. Well, what else could black have done here? Of king g1, that's another opportunity. Also rook takes c4, and after rook d3, g4. There is no way white can survive here. Actually, that's what happened in the game, because if black went rook c3, white played rook c3, black would have played rook takes c4. So move made by white was forced, which is in this position king g1, and after rook takes c4, rook d3, g4 won very easily. These pawns are unstoppable. So this is interesting how tactics and diagonal can be used with so minimal material on the board. Now, there is another position. This position is very simple. White has one pawn, black has two pawns. How can this position be complicated? This position is complicated because there is no main principles of pawn ending can apply to this position. This position is strictly concrete and strictly calculations involved. So how can white win this position. White is queening and black is queening. Well, let's try to win for white by playing king c7, g3, d7, g2, d8 queen, g1 queen, queen b8 check, king a6, and you see there is no queen b6 checkmate because queen on g1 controls the b6 square. So that didn't work. So now we're going back to the original position and find different idea for white. We go king c8. And now you see if black goes g3, d7, g2, d8 queen, g1 queen, queen a5 is a checkmate. Now white won in this case, but is king c8 right solution? No, king c8 is also wrong. This doesn't work either because now black goes f3, d7, f2, d8 queen, f1 queen. And now you see that queen a5 check, not that wins, not that doesn't win, it loses also after queen a6 check. So queens have to be exchanged and white does not win, white even loses. So now what can be the win? If king c8 is wrong and king c7 is wrong and king c8 is wrong, what is the right move? Now that's how, this is tactical, that's why you go d7 first. Notice that if we go king c7, black must push the g pawn all the way. And if we go king c8, black must push the f pawn right away. So that's why we go d7. And we will see first whether black pushes g pawn or f pawn. If black pushes f pawn, we're gonna checkmate him with king c7, f2, d8 queen, f1 queen. Now queen b8 check followed by queen b6 checkmate. So that's why moving the f pawn is bad. And now if he pushes g pawn, then we're gonna go king c8. And now it's too late to push the f pawn. Black goes g2, white plays d8 queen, g1 queen, and queen to a5 checkmate. See, now that means white, after playing d7, they are in control of choosing the retreating square with a king. King will go to c8 or c7 based on which pawn black moves, and white wins in both cases. So this is very interesting position. It's kind of a, some people call it opposition of the pawns. I wouldn't exactly call it, but it's like having your king flexible to move to one square or the other. There is an interesting position of a rook ending that has nothing to do with the endgame position, even though it is ending. It has to do a lot with tactics with a combination. White's move in this position, and white can easily draw, of course, if they just simply take the pawn. Black's going to recapture, and it's going to be a draw. Draw looks like normal result, except white has very, very interesting tactical shot. It's a rook h8 check, which forces black to capture this rook with the king. King takes h8. Now white plays g takes f, and you see that white's pawn is unstoppable. Next move, white is going to play f8 queen, and they're going to win the game. Black cannot play rook e8 because pawn is going to take on e8. So this is an interesting tactical shot. Now let's change position a little bit. Here is the position. It's white move again, and again white has rook h8 check. Black captures and white plays g takes f. Again white is queening. Now what is the difference between these two positions? You're going to see how rich can be tactics in middle games, in the end games. This end game is extremely tactical, and there are tactical shots on both sides. Now rook h8 check in this position does not work because black plays king takes h8, g takes f, and believe it or not, black has a way to stop white's pawn from queening. And this way is black plays rook to f4, threatening white's pawn. White must capture this rook, and now black plays g5 check. And regardless what white plays, black is gonna go king g7. And black wins having two connected pass pawns. For example, if white goes king f5 and after king g7, king e6, black will go king f8. Black stops white's f7 pawn from queening forever, and black wins the game easily. This is very interesting. Well, this is very tactical. Another very tactical position, the theme that happened in a world championship match between Karpov and Korchnoi. Position slightly changed, but the theme remains the same. This is position and white to move. Black's pawn moving towards me here. Black pawn moving this way. And white has a forced checkmate after knight to f6 check. Now, if black moves to h8, knight to f7 is going to be checkmate. And if black takes white's knight, then rook to g2 check, followed by same knight f7 checkmate. This is tactics. It's all in endgames. And there are countless more possibilities, themes, ideas for combination are in endgames. So don't let endgame, the fact that you are in game, fool you, right? There are no combinations. There are combinations, a lot of combinations, a lot of tactical ideas for achieving draw or for a win, for checkmate, for stalemate, and all kinds of combinations like this. So you have to be alert at all times in the end games also that there are tactics. So do search for tactics, do search for combinations in the end games as well as in the middle games. And believe me, you're going to be benefiting from it a great deal.